The birth of the bee. The birth of the bee as we know it today dates back to around 130 million years ago, during the early Cretaceous period. At that time, bees were very different from the ones we see today. They were small, solitary insects that did not live in hives or produce honey. Over time, bees evolved into social insects and developed complex behaviors and structures to support their colonies. The first social bees were likely the ancestors of the modern stingless bees, which evolved about 50 million years ago. Around 30 million years ago, the honeybee, Apis mellifera, emerged in its current form. Honeybees are known for their highly organized societies, which include a queen bee, male drones, and female worker bees. They are also known for their ability to produce honey, which is used as a food source for the colony. Today, bees are essential pollinators for many plants, including many of the crops we rely on for food. They play a vital role in maintaining the balance of ecosystems and are critical to the health of our planet. How do bees build their homes? Bees build their homes using wax that is produced by their own bodies. The wax is secreted from glands on the underside of the bee's abdomen and then chewed and manipulated by the bee's mouthparts to form small flakes. The bees then use these flakes to build the intricate hexagonal cells of their honeycomb. Honeycomb is a series of hexagonal cells that are arranged in a precise pattern. The cells are used to store honey, pollen, and brood, developing bees. The bees use their bodies to measure and shape the cells, ensuring that each one is the correct size and shape for its intended purpose. The construction of the honeycomb begins with a few worker bees secreting wax and shaping it into a flat sheet. Then, they use their bodies to mold and shape the wax into the familiar hexagonal pattern. As the comb grows, more bees join in the construction process, with each bee contributing to the building of the hive. The construction of the hive is a highly coordinated process, with each bee taking on specific roles and responsibilities. The queen bee is responsible for laying eggs, while the worker bees are responsible for collecting nectar and pollen, caring for the brood, and building and maintaining the hive. Through their collective efforts, bees are able to construct complex and efficient homes that meet the needs of their colony. How many types of bee are there? There are over 20,000 known species of bees in the world, belonging to the taxonomic family Apidae. This family includes honeybees, bumblebees, carpenter bees, orchid bees, and many others. Bees are found on every continent except Antarctica, and they play an important role in pollinating many of the world's crops and plants. Honeybees, which are probably the best known type of bee, are just one of the many species of bees that exist. There are over 4,000 species of bees in North America alone, and new species are still being discovered. While many species of bees are solitary, living alone and not in colonies, there are also many social bee species, including honeybees and bumblebees. Each species of bee has its own unique physical characteristics, behaviors, and preferences for habitat and food sources. For example, some species of bees are adapted to pollinate specific types of flowers, while others are generalists and can pollinate a wide range of plant species. Overall, bees are incredibly diverse and important insects, playing a critical role in the health of our planet's ecosystems and food systems. How does a bee make honey? Honey is made by bees from nectar, a sugary liquid that is produced by flowers. The process of making honey begins when a honeybee visits a flower to collect nectar. The bee uses its long tongue to extract the nectar from the flower and stores it in its honey stomach, a specialized organ that can hold up to 70 milligrams of liquid. Once the honeybee has collected enough nectar, it returns to the hive and regurgitates the nectar into the mouth of another bee, a process known as mouth-to-mouth, or trophallaxis. This process continues until the nectar is partially digested and transformed into honey. The bees also add enzymes to the nectar to break down the complex sugars into simpler sugars, which makes it easier to store and digest. The partially digested nectar is then stored in a honeycomb cell, where it is fanned by the bee's wings to help evaporate the water from the nectar. This process concentrates the sugar content of the nectar and creates the thick, sweet substance we know as honey. Once the honey has been sufficiently dried and thickened, the bees cap the cell with beeswax to protect the honey from moisture and air. The honey is then stored in the hive as a food source for the bees during times when nectar is scarce, such as during winter months. The process of making honey requires the cooperation and coordination of many worker bees in the colony. It is a complex and fascinating process that has evolved over millions of years, and it is an important source of food for both bees and humans alike. What is the queen bee like? The queen bee is the central and most important member of the bee colony, responsible for laying the eggs that give rise to new bees. She is also responsible for releasing pheromones that help regulate the behavior and development of the other bees in the colony. Physically, the queen bee is larger than the worker bees and has a longer abdomen. She has wings, but they are shorter than those of the worker bees, and she does not leave the hive to forage for food or collect pollen. Instead, she spends most of her time laying eggs and being attended to by worker bees. The queen bee is capable of laying up to 2,000 eggs per day, which is necessary to maintain the size of the colony. She can live for several years, although her egg-laying capacity may decrease over time. The queen bee is also unique in that she is the only female bee in the colony that is fully developed sexually. This means that she is the only bee capable of mating with drones and producing fertilized eggs. The fertilized eggs give rise to female worker bees, while unfertilized eggs give rise to male drones. Overall, the queen bee is a highly specialized and essential member of the bee colony, responsible for the reproduction and growth of the entire hive. Her presence and behavior have a significant impact on the behavior and productivity of the other bees in the colony.